Welcome to the MemcycoFM Show. Today we are going to really dig into something critical for anyone worried about digital security right now. That's the rising threat of AI-powered phishing. It's more than just the latest buzzword. It's changing the game for attacks in 2025. And it really affects how you need to defend yourselves and your customers.
It absolutely is. The level of sophistication we're seeing now, it's not just a small step up. It's a fundamental shift, all driven by AI. And that means our security strategies have got to evolve too. Honestly, ignoring this shift, that would be a huge mistake for any business today.
Right. And to get a good handle on this, we've been looking at a really insightful article. It's by Ken Palla. Just came out May 9th, 2025. He gives a really vital look at how generative AI is being used in phishing attacks. It's very current information on a threat that's just moving incredibly fast.
Oh, yeah. Pal's analysis is great because it cuts through all the hype around AI. It focuses right in on how it's being turned into a weapon for phishing.
Yeah.
So our mission today really is to pull out the key takeaways from his work. We want to explain exactly how these new AI-powered attacks work and then lay out the kind of proactive defenses that, well, we at Memcyco see as absolutely essential for your protection now.
Okay, so let's start with that first point. Palla makes this idea that AI and scams and fraud seems to be all over the news. We hear about cyber threats constantly. Why should this specific thing, AI and phishing, really capture our attention right now?
That's fair. I mean, there's so much cybersecurity news, it's easy to get a bit numb to it all. But this AI-driven phishing, it's not just another item on the list. It's taking existing risks and accelerating them like never before. Think about this research from back in November 2024. It showed AI could automate the whole spear phishing process, everything from finding info on the target, profiling them, right up to writing the actual attack message.
The entire process. Wow, that's a huge step up in automation.
It is. And what's even more worrying, by early 2025, the research found AI-generated spear phishing wasn't just doing as well as the human experts. It was actually better, more effective. That's not a small improvement. That's a serious change in what attackers can do.
That is pretty sobering. And it sounds like the authorities are noticing too. Palla mentions an FBI warning from December 2024. What were their main worries about Gen AI and phishing specifically?
Well, the FBI pointed to two main things. First, how good AI is at translation. It basically gets rid of those clumsy grammar mistakes that used to be, a giveaway. That's a big deal, especially for attacks coming from different language regions. And second, just the speed and scale. AI can churn out incredibly believable, relevant content so fast, allowing attackers to target way more people with really convincing stuff.
So launching these really sophisticated, personalized phishing attacks, it's getting easier. It's not just for the super technical hackers anymore.
Exactly. AI is basically making sophisticated phishing available to almost anyone. People with fewer technical skills can now launch very credible attacks and do it at scale. For anyone whose job is protecting customer accounts, this is a major escalation of risk. It directly threatens the security of user data.
Okay, so AI makes phishing slicker, more convincing. But at the end of the day, what are the attackers still after? What's the main goal?
The core goals haven't really changed much. It's still about tricking people into giving up their login details on fake sites or getting them to download malware. But as Pal points out, the big driver behind this huge rise in account takeover ATO is definitely credential theft. That's the main prize.
Right, because once they have those credentials, the door is wide open. The article also mentioned a weak spot that persists, even with more security spending authentication systems. Can you expand on that?
Yeah, it's a key point. Even with all the investment in security, a lot of systems still rely heavily on things that are pretty easy to phish. We're talking passwords, obviously, and also one-time passcodes, OTPs. And what's really concerning now is how attackers have evolved. They don't just want the password anymore. We're seeing more and more real-time social engineering aimed at intercepting those OTPs, that second factor.
So even that extra layer of security isn't foolproof.
Exactly. And now there are these things called OTP phishing kits as a service, basically ready-made tools that make it easy for attackers to grab both the credentials and the OTP. It makes these sophisticated attacks scalable for, well, a lot more bad actors. And that sequence phishing gets credentials, then they intercept the OTP. That's the direct path to taking over an account.
Wow, okay. This really does paint a grim picture of what's happening now. Let's get into the specifics, the step-by-step of these AI-powered attacks that Palla describes. Where does it usually start?
Often, it kicks off with AI doing the reconnaissance. Fraudsters might buy stolen email accounts. Sadly, they're pretty easy to get a hold of. Then they use generative AI to really dig into the owner of that account. looking at their language, where they are, maybe recent purchases, anything public, to build a detailed profile.
So the AI does the homework, basically, making the eventual attack much more tailored and believable. What comes after that research phase?
Well, armed with all that info, the next step is what you could call hyper-personalized phishing. The Gen AI crafts phishing emails specifically for that target, not just in their language, but mimicking their tone, their style, based on what the AI learned. This makes the email look incredibly legitimate.
Yeah, that makes sense. An email that sounds like you, talks about things you do in your language,
Yeah.
much harder to be suspicious of.
Yeah.
How do they send these out widely then?
That's where specialized infrastructure comes in. They use systems designed to get emails delivered, bypassing a lot of the traditional spam filters that might catch generic phishing attempts. So these highly personalized, dangerous emails actually land in the inbox.
Okay, email looks real, it's personal, it gets through. What happens when the user clicks that link?
That takes us to the next stage, the phishing plus OTP scam. The user clicks, goes to a website that looks totally legit, like their bank's login or an online store, a really good copy. They put in their username and password. But it doesn't stop there. Almost immediately, the fraudsters make contact. It might be a spoofed phone call or a text message pretending to be customer support or a security alert. The whole point is to trick the user into giving up their one-time passcode right then and there.
So they don't just rely on getting the password from the fake site. They actively go after that second factor using social engineering in real time.
Precisely. And once they have both the stolen password and the intercepted OTP, that's the final step, account takeover. They can log in as the victim to their bank, crypto exchange, maybe even healthcare portals,
Right.
full control, which can lead to, terrible financial loss and data exposure.
Breaking it down like that really shows how complex and, frankly, dangerous these AI-driven attacks are. It's a world away from those old, obvious phishing emails. Pala then talks about a needed shift in thinking for CISOs, Chief Information Security Officers. What's the key change they need to make?
Yeah, he makes a crucial point. Phishing isn't just an email problem anymore. It's become this adaptive threat fueled by AI that pops up everywhere, SMS, social media, these very convincing fake websites. So CISOs need to move beyond just detecting threats after they happen. The focus has to shift to being proactive, to disrupting these attacks before they actually compromise a customer.
Okay, so less reacting, more preventing upfront. What are the really critical areas Pala says modern security needs to focus on in this new reality?
He highlights three main things. First, preemptive protection. That means stopping the phishing before the user even clicks the bad link. Second, predictive intelligence. Using data, using AI to figure out which users are likely targets next, so you can maybe warn them or watch their accounts more closely. And third, proactive disruption. This is about stopping the stolen credentials or OTPs from being used, even if the user did accidentally fall for the scam, neutralizing the attack in real time.
Those all sound absolutely vital now. Pala then includes some pretty direct questions businesses should ask themselves, sort of a self-check. What are some of those key questions that, we at Memcyco think you, our listeners, should really be thinking about?
They're really fundamental questions. Things like, how fast can you actually spot a phishing site impersonating your brand? How long does it take, how many minutes, before you know a customer has put their data into a fake site? And this is critical. Can you warn your customer right at the moment they're interacting with something suspicious? Can you detect in real time that one of your customers has been phished, even with these sneaky new methods? And finally, do you actually know which customers were hit by a specific attack?
Yeah, those are tough questions. And like Pala says, if you can't confidently say yes to most of them, you're probably facing a pretty significant risk from these AI phishing attacks.
It's exactly right. Closing those gaps with real-time monitoring, with better phishing intelligence, with genuinely proactive defense, that's absolutely key to lowering your vulnerability. And actually, to help figure out where you stand, we at Memcyco have something that can help.
Yes, we do. We've put together a free capability maturity scorecard. It helps you benchmark where your organization is right now, looking at your people, your processes, and your technology. It's designed specifically to help you see if your current security is truly predictive, preemptive, and proactive enough for these kinds of AI attacks. We really recommend listeners check it out.
Because, the bottom line from Pala's article is this. AI-powered phishing isn't just a little bit more dangerous. It's fundamentally different. It's way more evasive, it scales incredibly well, and it's much, much harder for older security tools to even spot, let alone stop.
So just waiting for an attack and then reacting. That time is definitely over. You really have to look hard at your defenses now and ask, can they actually stop these AI attacks before they hurt our customers?
Using our scorecard is a really good first step. It helps you see your current security posture clearly, find those weak spots that, believe me, AI-powered attackers are already looking for. It's all about understanding where you're vulnerable so you can take targeted action to get stronger.
Don't just react, prevent. Protect your business and customers from digital fraud. Discover how Memcyco proactively predicts and preempts ATO, phishing, and digital impersonation in real time. Learn more at memcyco.com.